introduction, but if you'd like, you can introduce yourself again.
Tell us your story, how you made it to Broadway.
Oh gosh. Hi everyone. It's good to see your faces. My how I made it to Broadway. It's a long story. How long do we got? 30 minutes. I don't know.
30
Um,
minutes.
I grew up in Texas. Is anyone from Texas? No, long shot. I know. I grew up in Texas, and I went to school. I went to university at Southern Methodist University for ballet, and I thought I was going to come to New York and be a concert dancer. And Broadway had other plans for me, luckily. And I kind of found my way. I stumbled into a High School Musical audition for the national tour. I know, shocked. Who here's the High School Musical fan? Everyone better raise their hands. Okay, at least okay, we got most everybody. Okay, yeah, it's shameful now, but it wasn't at the time. Um, yeah, so I got cast in that, and that kind of changed the course of my life. And from there, I was lucky enough to land a couple more tours. So I did High School Musical, and then I went on to do West Side Story and 9 to 5, which is where oh, we got another person jumped in here. And then yeah, and then after I did a few tours, I got my lucky break, and I got to make my Broadway debut in Wicked, which was a dream come true because I loved the show growing up, and it was the kind of style of movement that I was accustomed to. It was a little bit more contemporary, and then out of nowhere, I got cast in Matilda, and I actually did both shows at the same time for a month. So I was in two shows at once for an entire month. I know it was the longest days of my life, but it's like the most rewarding, being in two Broadway shows at once. And then Matilda, I was there for 4.5 years, almost 5 years. And I did over 1,500 performances of Matilda. So I know that show really well. And that unfortunately closed, but I didn't know what was coming in my future. So I'm glad that it ended up closing, because then I got to join the cast of Groundhog Day, which was my first time originating a Broadway show and originating a new role. So I was the first person to ever play Jeff in Groundhog Day on Broadway. So that was a whole different experience. That was probably one of my favorite shows I've ever been in, because I was a part of it from its inception. And I don't know, I was just connected to that material because I got to put so much of myself into it. And then that came to an early close, I think probably because that season there were 13 or 14 new musicals all in one season. It was a tough one. We got a bunch of Tony nominations, but we didn't score any. So that was rough. So that was sad. That came to a close. But then again, when one door closes, another window opens somewhere. And I joined the cast of Hello, Dolly, and I got to perform with all the icons, all the legends. You know, Bette Midler, I never in my life thought I'd be on stage with her. And she sat on my knee every night. And that's a wild moment. And then to have Bernadette come in, and um, Donna Murphy also
We had last week we had Jacob Keith Watson, and
Oh, I love Jacob.
we also had Maria Briggs.
I love Maria. Maria and I actually did Carousel together at Goodspeed, like way back in the day. So we go way back, and I love Maria. So then that show closed. I actually got hurt on that show and had to have knee surgery, and so I didn't get to close it out. I got to go to closing, obviously, but I healed up and joined Kiss Me Kate, where I was an original cast member of that revival. And that was very fun. I had to swing that show. I was the only swing on that show, me and Sarah Meal. She was the only female, and I was the only male swing. That was that was a really fun show, but it was very difficult being the only swing, as you can imagine, on a big dance show like that. And then now I'm working on the dance captain swing of Mrs. Doubtfire, and I can't wait for you guys to see it because it's fantastic. The show's amazing, and it's exactly what the world's going to need when we come back from this. So that's like the highlights.
Amazing. Cool. Great start. So, like Eli said in the chat, you guys can put questions in the chat, or because I can see everybody, You guys can also just raise your hands if you have your cameras on like that. So yeah, so Sarah, why don't you start us off? You can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, I love your work on Broadway so much. So I have a quick question. If you could tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say?
That's a great question. I think I would tell myself to trust myself, because some of the best piece of advice one of my friends gave me when I didn't make it to Broadway until I was 29, and a lot of my friends were having success before me, is to trust my own path, because that wasn't meant for me. I thought it was going to be meant for me. I had been in final callbacks for over 10 Broadway shows and I wasn't getting them, and I didn't understand why. You have to trust your own path. And the other piece of advice I would say is to be authentically yourself from jump, from day one. Be authentic and find out what makes you special, because when they're looking for you and you're trying to be someone else, they're going to pick someone else. You have to burn your flame so bright, like a moth, everyone's attracted to it. So just be special, be uniquely you, and people will want that and people will resonate to that. And I wish I was that my whole life, because why spend your time being somebody else? Life's too short.
Thank you.
Good question.
Awesome. Okay, Lexi. Oh, sorry, Eli. Lexi, go ahead.
Hi, first I just want to say I'm a super big fan of you.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to ask, did you or the cast ever messed up in like any of the shows that you were in?
Yes. I would like to say that no, I'm perfect and professional all the time, but I have to be honest with you, I mess up too much. There will be times that like in Matilda, say it's my 1,200th show. Sometimes you can do it without, I know, crazy, right? Sometimes you can do it without thinking about it, but then something happens, like you'll just randomly forget. It's like when you walk into a room and you're like, what did I come in here for? Sometimes that happens when you're on stage. So that happens. I definitely, sometimes the movement gets so into your body, you forget what it is. And I remember turning at Wicked, I turned to my partner right before we went on. I was like, oh my gosh, what is the step? What is the step? And it was my fault. I asked her, because then I got her in her head. I did it right, and then she messed up. So, silly things like that happen. I don't think anything ever happens to the point where an audience notices at that level. I don't think that happens that often, but sometimes it does. Like costume changes are missed or costume pieces fall off. It is live theater, and I think that's why everyone likes it and misses it so much. There is always an element that something could go wrong.
Right. I love that.
Thank you.
Christian, go ahead.
Hello. So my question is, how was it like working with Leslie Margarita?
Okay, Leslie's one of my best friends. She's amazing. She is a force, and I love her to pieces. I didn't know her before I joined Matilda, and then when we met, it was like we were soul sisters. So from jump, it was amazing, and I just love her. There's nothing like, I covered Rodolfo and I went on all the time, so there's nothing like looking across a Broadway stage at the iconic Leslie Margarita and dancing and performing with her. It's just, there's a power to it. There's just like, we were so connected. Like, I can't explain it. I love it. It was fun. I want to be in a show with her again. We always call each other and we're like, can we go back to Matilda? So I don't know. She's the best.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Ashley, go ahead.
Hi there. I'm a super huge fan of all the shows that you've done, and I think it's incredibly impressive that you are the only swing and Kiss Me Kate, just because it is such a big show. And my question is, how were the read-throughs of Mrs. Doubtfire that I know you guys were doing? Because I talked to Annalise, and I heard that some people would just forget what they were doing, or because it had been a while. And just how were the read-throughs and all those Zooms that you guys have done as a cast?
Fun fact, Annalise was my original daughter in Matilda.
Oh.
So we have a special little bond. We joined Matilda together. She was a swing on the show, but she learned the show with me. And so now me being her dance captain is so funny and it's so weird. And you guys, she's amazing in Doubtfire. I'm so proud of her. I feel like a mom, like her dad. I'm just like, well, I was her dad at Matilda, but I'm so proud of her. I can't wait for New York to see the star that she is. The Zoom throughs are great. It's like they're going fine. They went fine. Obviously, people have forgotten what we're doing because we've been away from it for so long. Going back is going to be quite the journey, putting the show back together. But I think the thing that resonates most from the Zooms is how much love we all actually have for the craft in the show that we're putting together. And, you know, you don't get to pick your work as an actor. The work picks you. Like, some shows you're going to be right for, some shows you're not. So to be able to be a part of a show like this from its inception is so magical, because I think everybody's really gonna resonate to it after this. So when you get on the Zooms and you read through it, you're like, God, this is so good. There's so much love here, because the show really is about love. And I think that's what people want right now and are gonna need. So I look forward to you guys seeing it. Also, your playbills behind you are gorge.
Oh, thank you so much. And I wanted to say that, like, last time that we had a Q&A, I think it was last week or something, we did have Annalise for the covers Q&A since she was a swing. And so we got to talk to her too. And I just thought,
such a sweetheart.
We've had everyone that you know on Z Broadway just last week.
I love it. She's so great. You guys, I can't wait for you. Her songs are amazing. She has a song in Act 2 that makes me cry every day. It's like, it's the best.
Yeah, and
covers on her Instagram as well. So
yeah, follow her on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, Renee, go ahead.
Renee said she told me today that she will not be able to ask her question.
Right. So her question was, what was it like working on 2 Broadway shows at once?
Okay, great question. I didn't even know this could happen. And the way that the timing worked out, I was on a medical leave at Wicked. So somebody got hurt in my track that I was doing. They brought me in for 4 months. And then at month 3, there was an immediate opening at Matilda. So I got the job at Matilda. And what I would do was I would rehearse from 10 to 6 with Matilda. I would then run to the theater at the Gershwin, and I would eat and do the show either at 7 or 8. So maybe I would get a little nap in or not. And then I'd do the show, I would do Wicked at night. And then I would go back and the next day I would go 10 to 6 for Matilda, and then I'd do the show at night. And then on 2 show days, I wouldn't have rehearsal at Matilda. And I would just fluctuate between the 2. I've never been in better shape in my life, but it was really cool. And I don't know, when you work as hard as you do at your craft, I think you guys are probably performers or do some sort of performing. When you work that hard at your craft and then you're actually getting to flex your muscles like that, there's something so gratifying about it. So I feel very honored that I got to have that experience.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, there are no questions in chat. If you have any questions, go ahead and unmute. For now,
Ashley has a question over here. Did Maria Briggs also have to rehearse 1 show or perform? I don't know. I think probably, because I think she was still...
She was the one who did the 4 shows in a season. And I think like a Playbill interview, she said that she had to do the same thing that you did, where she would like rehearse 1 show during the day, perform in another in the night, and then like switch and like have to keep going back and forth.
Yeah, I do believe that did happen to her. I don't know what shows overlapped, but I think when she was at Hello Dolly with me, that she was also rehearsing Anastasia. So, but I don't know, but I bet she did, especially if she did 4 in 1 season, which I do remember her doing. And we were all like, yes, Maria, congratulations.
do you have any favorite fan experiences, like moments at the stage door or art that you received, any of that?
Oh my God. My favorite one of all time, it's hard to rank them because there's no like, any kind of fan support and love is so amazing. And I love, like, the Matilda fans were the best fans on the planet. Like, there was like nothing like them. Same with Groundhog Day fans. So I would have to say on Groundhog Day, after we closed Groundhog Day, we did a concert, and the LGBTQ community in Punxsutawney, PA came and brought me, they gave me like the key to the center. I signed a playbill for them because my character in Groundhog Day was gay. And they gave me an honorary plaque thing that they have up at the LGBT center there. And they gave it to me for like Groundhog Day. I got to be the representative. So I think that was just like really special to me.
Had to find the unmute button for a second. All right, Christian, go ahead. You can ask your question.
Oh, when you were in Wicked, were there any bubble mishaps or like when like Elphaba sets the monkeys free, was there any like mishaps?
Oh yes. So the bubbles, they're real. And there were many a banana peel slip, but obviously from the bubble juice. I definitely took a tumble a few times. I was one of the guys that had to run and catch the fainting girl. And there were several times I went to run and it was like, zip! And you know, nothing's better than falling on Broadway, which goes back to Lexi's question. Yes, things go wrong and you fall on Broadway. The monkey release, I didn't have anything too crazy. My wings got caught in the, my big monkey wings got caught when I was exiting before, like something like that. But not, my monkey, I didn't have any tragedy monkey stories. But it's a fun one, I gotta say.
All right, Nikki, go ahead.
Hi, what was one of your audition processes like?
Well, I mean, every audition process is a little bit different for every show. It kind of depends on what they're considering you for. For Mrs. Doubtfire, I had to, you had to go in and dance a few times. So you get, the choreographer gets to look at you and you'll dance. And then if they are interested in how you move and or they think that you fit a type in the show, then they'll keep you and then you'll sing. And then they'll make cuts from there and they'll bring everybody back in. And they just keep kind of doing the same thing and whittling it down. And then considering ensemble members now usually cover principal roles. So you'll then get sides for roles that you are being considered for covering. So they're considering you for an ensemble track and then the cover. Because every principal cover has to have 2 covers. So it's a big jigsaw puzzle that they have to put together. So usually after you've made it through a few cuts, they'll give you material from the show that you will then go in and perform for them. After you do that a few times, then they'll have a final callback and they'll invite the whole creative team, director, choreographer, and all the producers, and they'll be behind a table. And then everyone that's being considered for every track will go in and do all the material again. And everyone will vote, check off who they think best fits in the jigsaw. So it's kind of a process. You usually go in like for 4 or 5 callbacks for like a Broadway production.
Awesome. Okay, Kai, you're next. You can unmute and ask your question if you'd like to. Oh, well, we wrote it in the chat, so I think I'm just going to say it. What has been your worst audition process?
Ooh. So this is the thing that no one ever talks about, but the job is auditioning. Your job is to audition. I've had a lot of bad auditions. I'm not a great auditioner. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. I get nervous sometimes and it gets in my way. But, you know, maybe that's why you don't get certain things. I don't know. The universe works in very mysterious ways. I had an audition where I went in and I was very prepared. They gave me, so I made it through the dance calls, like I was saying, and then they had me come back and sing from the show. So I had to sing a song from the show. And I blanked on the words. Like I said, sometimes you walk into a room and forget why you went in there. I walked into that room and forgot that I had ever seen the song before in my life. And I knew the melody. So I was singing the melody, but I couldn't read a lyric on the page because I got so nervous. I sang everything on a la. I was like, la, 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 la. So that was pretty bad. And yeah, I mean, you're going to have bad auditions. When you audition for your job, you're auditioning several times a day, multiple times a week. you're bound to have bad ones. So don't rate yourself by the bad auditions you have. Just keep focusing on the good ones you do have. And hopefully they outweigh the bad.
Awesome. Love that advice. Ashley, go ahead.
Since you're a dance captain, you get to teach the show if like any new cast members come in, right?
Yes. So as a dance captain, it's kind of my job to take care of the show once the creative team leaves. And then, yeah, cast the show kind of. I'll have auditions and everything like that. Like people will come and audition. But then say we hire somebody for a track, like they are an ensemble member and then they cover somebody else, one of the principals. So I am responsible for teaching them their entire track, start to finish, all the choreography, pretty much all the blocking and spacing, where you change clothes. Yeah, I take care of the show. So I put everybody in and out. I also rehearse the understudies. So usually on Thursday, Friday, we'll have understudy rehearsal during the day. And we'll come in and we'll have all the swings, let them have a chance to be on stage in the space. We'll let the understudies go through their scenes, and it's my job and the PSM's job to prepare everybody for emergencies and putting new people in the show. So that's a big part of my job once the show is up and running.
Is it really hard to like just remember all the things that you need to teach people? Like, can remember where everybody is?
It is a huge job. I have I use my iPad. There's an app that I use on the iPad. So I have everyone's number written down and I typed it all out from top of show. Like I have Rob's show typed from the top to the end. His is much longer than some tracks because he is the show, but you know, you have everybody's track written out. So if you have to teach somebody, you know exactly where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be. And you just take down all the information rehearsal. So I usually, during a rehearsal process, we'll go to rehearsal. After rehearsal, I sit down and write everything out that happened in rehearsal that day, just so that there's a record of it somewhere.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, this is our 8-minute warning, but it's okay. We have time. Lily, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, so you've been in classical shows as long as contemporary shows. So I was wondering, what's the biggest difference you find between that kind of shows, and what's the biggest similarity?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that before. I think a big difference is how you approach the material. I think every time you get a show, you approach it as a character study. So if it's contemporary, you're gonna approach it in its time period. So if it's contemporary, well, how contemporary? Are we talking 80s? Are we talking now? Are we doing like futuristic? So you kind of look at it at the time period, and then you pull from the generational influences of that time period. So when I was in Wicked, that didn't really take place in any time necessarily. Like the time, you can't really pull from certain things. So you pulled from pop culture and you pulled from Wizard of Oz. So that kind of influences you. And then you can go with influences stylistically, musically. Like Hello Dolly, you're going to sing very differently than you would in Wicked. So your vowels are going to be bigger. You're going to have more vibrato. There's going to be more classical sound. You're going to also move differently in Hello Dolly than you would in Wicked, right? Wicked's going to be a little bit more slinky, and then Hello Dolly is going to be a little more classical. So, but that's all historically time referenced. So I approach everything from that point of view, I think. What time period are we in? How did the people move in that time period? How did they sound? How did they sing? You know, historical reference is a really good way to build a character.
Thank you so much.
Good question.
Cool. Alice, go ahead.
What's it like teaching people the show when the rest of the cast isn't in the room?
That's a great question. It's very difficult. I usually pretend to be everyone. And so I look like a crazy person because I'll be like, say the line here and then go on the other side and then they say it over here and then you go over here and then you say this over here. But what I do to help the person is I give them their through line, I give them their numbers, and then I just try to support them the best way that they can so that they have a general idea, because they'll learn their show and I'll bring in swings, I'll bring in people that can help give them more information. But then you do a thing called a put-in. And a put-in is you get one shot at running the show in full costume with the full entire cast. You don't get any lights, you don't have an orchestra, you'll have a piano, but you'll have bodies around you and you'll be the only one in costume. So it's a little strange. It looks like, I mean, I walked out and I felt like I was in Legally Blonde. I was like, I walked into a costume party and no one had costumes on but me. I was like, ugh. It's a little strange, but it's your one shot to do it before you have an audience. And then you usually do it again that night for Broadway. And that's usually your Broadway debut. It's very cool. It's very scary and exciting. And you feel like you're shot out of a cannon. And it's the first time you have lights on you. It's like, oh, very fun.
Awesome. Well, we probably have time for one or two more. Sarah, go ahead.
What has been your favorite show to perform in?
My favorite show I was a part of was Groundhog Day, just because of my origin story with it and helping create it. But I will have to say one of my favorite moments on Broadway was doing the Hello Dolly penguin walk around the passerelle following Bette Midler the first time. Not gonna lie, I teared up and I started to cry a little bit. It's like such a Broadway moment. Like, how classic Broadway can this be? And that's Bette Midler, and the people were screaming in the theater. It was crazy. So I did tear up a little bit.
Sounds crazy. Okay, Nikki, go ahead.
I have a question about the dance captain. So how do they choose who's like the dance captain, and do you have to audition for that?
You do. A lot of times dance captains have a relationship with the choreographer in some form. They've worked with them before. That doesn't always mean that has to happen. I got the dance captain of Doubtfire, I think, because I had worked with Lauren previously on other shows, not as her dance captain, but as a dancer. So she could trust me, I think, maybe. I don't know. I think that happens often. But dance captains usually have been swings before, because if you're a swing, you're able to hold a lot of information in your brain. Like Ashley was saying, that's a lot to remember because you have to take everything in and you have to be able to deliver it. So you've proven yourself as a swing before. They usually get dance captain tracks. You have a relationship with the choreographer. They trust you. It's a lot of it's based on trust that you are able to do the job. And yeah, so people with a lot of swing experience usually get asked to be a dance captain.
Perfect.
Cool.
Well, we have time for one more. Maya, you haven't gone. Do you have a question?
I do have a question. Could you tell me about like your what it's like with different kids in Doubtfire? Because you said that you trained the understudies and they switched the understudies when they went from Seattle to Broadway and they got different child understudies. So could you like tell us more about what that was like?
Yeah, I love working with kiddos. I think that they're so amazing. And I've been lucky in Matilda. I was blown away by the level of talent that these children had and have. I love it because they're so innocent and open and honest. So when we got in Seattle, I helped teach the Seattle kids their understudy tracks. And it was great to get to know them and to see them shine and to be so talented. And then when we came here, same thing. I just got to meet another bunch of cuties. Then they're all so sweet. I like it also because I get to see their growth as when they started, because I got to teach them the show and then I get to watch them go on for the first time. I get to watch them in understudy rehearsals, like learn the material. And when you're younger, you're able to take in and learn more, and you're also able to grow more. I mean, you'll see little stars being made. My Matildas, my original Matildas are all movie stars now. Like I see them, I turn on Netflix, I'm like, Una, like, I'm seeing I saw them when they were little tykes, so it's interesting to see them, watch them grow up to be little stars. And I got to witness it at the beginning. So I think that's, privilege to be able to do.
Awesome. Yeah.